Gradients are great, and I think you're going to love them once you get to know them. What is a gradient? That's basically when we look at our color wheel, we have a gradient right here, and at the top we have white, and at the bottom we have black, and in between are all these gradual shades of gray. So any change between two colors or values is going to give you a gradient. So the amount of how it changes is our gradient. So if we have a tool that will let us make all kinds of gradient effects in our drawings, it looks kind of like well, it is a gradient itself. It's a square with a gradient from black to white. And we have quite a few options. Some of them are specific effects that are prefigured in a way that will give you emulate certain aspects of nature, but some of them are just you kind of get to tweak them yourself and figure out what they do. But foreground to transparent is going to take a color that you've selected. In this case, I'll use a turquoise as my foreground color, and it's going to, if it's on the initial one, straight line and not repeat, it's going to kind of draw that color and then fade it out, as you can see. So up here it's completely turquoise, and down here it's completely white, but in between is this kind of hinterland of mixed tones, and you can change how that behaves in a lot of different ways on here, and you can also just basically by how far you drag your line is going to determine how slowly it changes. So that's a little more gradual. We have other options. I'm actually going to show you though with the next tool because it's a little more clear, I think. So this one is the same as the foreground to transparent, except instead of transparent we have our background color, which is a bright red. So when I draw the line now, it will shift from turquoise down to the red. And it actually stopped where I ended because I was on a different setting. So the initial setting, it would do the same thing that it did before. It will just go and look completely blue and then completely red. But these other settings, let's take a look. So if I leave that for now and then just look at these shapes, that's just going to affect how the, wait, it's still on. It's going to affect how it is shaped. And I can have this as a, rotate it. And you can see it does the same thing, it's just in a different shape. So these other ones though, I'm going to go back to line to demonstrate. This first one repeats, so instead of just turning into a solid red on top and a solid blue on the bottom, it's going to repeat the gradient over and over. Let's look at that. Yeah, so you can see it just repeats infinitely. If I undo it, next one is reverse, and it just reverses the angle, not the angle, the order. And then we have the last option, not draw, which doesn't repeat and it doesn't go beyond what you draw in either case. So if I just draw from here to here, it's just going to be in that area and nothing is going to be beyond it. And I can do more of these, so on. So that is not draw. And again, we can do all these with the other shapes as well. Just right there. I'm going to clear this. And let's look at our next one, stripe. And this is going to create a stripe as it sounds, and it will repeat. And just if I do it a small one, it's going to be a very thin stripe. And I'll show you with the other one. If I do a larger shape, it'll be a thicker stripe. I usually have the actually the option for stripe is right here, so you could actually tweak how thin and thick it is as well, but this is slightly different from your line size because it's actually gonna, went kind of off the page there. Yeah, so even though it's larger, it's much further apart because I set it way out there, and you can reverse this and play with this. So So you can get some really nice designs and effects out of these tools. The next one, if I undo this, is background color stripe, and this is similar to foreground to background. It's just doing it as a stripe with the foreground and the background colors. So if I am on the line right now, you'll just get a line like that. So very easy to make some nice designs very quickly. And you can also create this as a new layer or just affect the layer that you're drawing on and make the usual changes down here. I'm going to go next to Photosphere, which these next three, or actually next five, I guess, are just kind of different kind of sky effects that you might want to use as kind of standardized effects. I don't use these too often, but they might have their use sometime. Photosphere, blue sky, midday sky, sunset. And these can be tweaked, but this is just their kind of prefab formula. Night sky. And then something totally different, rainbow, which is, this is probably the one that I used the most of their kind of pre-created ones. It looks like a pretty realistic rainbow to me. And then the last one, gradient erase. Actually, I'm going to put that color back on the page so I can show you this. It's basically just an eraser that acts as a gradient. So if I wanted to erase, it would just come on more gradually. And so over here it's the strongest, and then it kind of fades. And I could tweak this with smaller gradients and so on, but it is essentially an eraser, and it can be tweaked to behave in different ways. If I wanted to limit it to just where I use my line, I would use that one. Oh wait, I used the wrong one. I used reverse. I should have used this one. There we go. So there's all kinds of things you can do with that. It does have its purposes, and yeah, these are your gradients. They're very powerful at creating really complex looking effects that I think they can look really impressive, and they don't take a lot of work. So try and work them into your art somehow, definitely.